Now we have the two ways to make content, okay? So you can either create content or you can be content. And these are both really, really fun, and it depends on who you are and what you decide to do. I usually recommend a mixture of both. But what creating content means, that means in advance, you plan out what the ideas are going to be. You plan out your scripts, you plan out your concepts, you plan out your hooks, you plan out everything. You plan out how you're going to film it. You plan out what style of video it's going to be. You plan out the whole creation process before you film, right? That's what content creation is. Now there's being content, which is Gary Vee, for example. You know, if you have a podcast, just record the entire podcast and take like 10 moments of that podcast, and there's 10 TikToks. If you do a keynote speech and you're on stage for an hour, same thing, record that whole 60 to 90-minute time slot of that speech, and then turn that into 5, 10, 15 short form videos that go on TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, everywhere else. Being content is really, really easy, but it only works if you have an opportunity to speak. And so you either have to create the opportunity to speak, which is go out and source your own speeches and get on stage, or just do it for free. You have to start your own podcast or get on other people's podcasts, or you could do something that I call mock casting, which is you set up a conversation with somebody, you film it, and you're not necessarily going to post it on Apple Music or Spotify or YouTube, but you're only using it to send to an editor to chop up clips from your conversation to make it seem more natural and organic. There are pros and cons to both, right? If you create content, usually you can get a lot more creative than just being content, because you can think of creative ways of how to film it, where you can film it, how you can stylistically change it up. You're a little bit more stuck when you're just being content. You can also usually add a little bit of more higher production value to creating content. You could use drones, you can use all these other things and kind of get crazy with it, because you have every possible way that you can make a video, you can create it. Whereas being content just has to come from those moments. But the cons of creating content is that it's really difficult to execute. You need a good strategist on your team, or you have to be a good strategist yourself. Some people are very uncomfortable on camera when they start out. So coming up with 10, 15, 20 ideas for them to batch shoot and film all at once is very uncomfortable and can seem very awkward. Whereas just having a normal conversation on a podcast is usually something that people are a lot more comfortable with than setting up lights or setting up their phone in a certain way and then presenting their ideas that way. So really understand the difference between creating and being content. Neither is better. They're just what is better for you, and what is better as well. What is better for your budget could be being content for one person, but it could be creating content for another. If it's being content, well, if you already have your own podcast, that makes sense. But what if you have to book a studio? What if you have to pay for guests to be on your show? There's certain details that it really depends on how you decide to measure what is better for you versus the other. And then you also have the pros of being content. Is extremely easy to do. You have a low barrier to entry. Like anyone can just, like if you have a sales call and you're trying to get more leads for your business, just record your sales call and show how you handle objections and show what that's like. At the very least, that could be training material for your team, but the most that could attract a customer because they're like, wow, I really respect how you do business. If you are a coach or somebody has a coaching business, record every coaching call that you ever do, because that allows you to step fully into your own flow, to your own personality, to show what you're already doing. And just, you can find editors really cheap nowadays. And you even have AI tools, which I can get into later this week, that will edit those videos for you and give you a viral ranking score that come from the content that is you just being yourself. So you don't need a videographer. It's a lot cheaper usually to just be content. But the cons is you need like a really skilled English editor to clip the videos properly, because even these AI tools, they're still in their initial phases and they're not perfect yet.